We'll give it about 1 or 2 more minutes. That way people who are just checking their spam folders can get in. All right, everyone, I think we're safe to get started. We'll start off with some introductions and then we can move into the presentation, okay? So good morning, everyone. I'm Jolene Pace, the program coordinator at the Wilkes University Small Business Development Center. I'm thrilled that all of you could be joining us this morning. Also on this meeting, we have Dorothy Lane, the director of the SBDC. And before we begin, I would like to thank IdeaWorks Marketing for partnering with us and sharing this fantastic presentation. We're lucky to have with us today Alyssa Ellsworth, the Senior Director of Creative Content, and Donna Hansberry, President and CEO of IdeaWorks. Just a quick note before we begin to please put yourselves on mute so that we can avoid having any background noise during the presentation. And also, there will be time at the end of the presentation to ask any questions that you might have. And now I'll hand it over to Alyssa and Donna. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Donna Hansberry. Thank you, Jolene, for the introduction. We are also excited to partner with the Wilkes on this presentation. And I just want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking your valuable time to attend. As Jolene said, we created this this resource, basically, Invigorate, to try to help businesses sort of navigate the marketing phases of reintroducing marketing into the mix after the quarantine and reopening our businesses. We're a small business as well. So we wanted to put something out there to try to help navigate through this time. So I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa. Alyssa was very instrumental in preparing this resource and she did a terrific job. So I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa and ask her to, walk through this resource. And at the end of the presentation, we've also created some complementary resources. We have a website resource called GemWork, Guest Engagement Marketing, and we're going to offer that to all of you. We'll ask you to email us for credentials, but we'll allow you to go in there and download some complementary tools that we've created around some signage and things like that. And some social media templates that you could customize for your own organizations and utilize. So with that, I will turn it over to Alyssa.
Thank you. All right, so I will share my screen now and get us into presentation. All right, and everyone can see my screen, correct? Yep, all right, great. And so thank you so much. Thanks, Jolene. Thank you, Donna and Dorothy, and for everyone in attendance today. We so much appreciate it. And so today, as Donna had mentioned, and Jolene as well, we'll be taking you through Invigorate. Invigorate is something that we came up with to really reinvigorate or invigorate your business during this time. And so the Invigorate name is very intentional. We like to use acronyms for things, but we wanted to create something that was very actionable, that was easy to follow, and it really just giving you some actionable tips and resources that you can use now that we're in this next or now or new normal. You know, it's referred to in a lot of different ways, but the 8 in the Invigorate name is very intentional because it's those 8 marketing solutions. So I'll take you through a little bit more in terms of what you'll see today, what you'll walk away with, and then we'll jump right into the tips. So as I said, Invigorate, easy to execute tips as we're preparing for this next normal. We recognize though that depending on your organization, your logistics, what have you, everyone's in a different spot. Some of you may have not, opened up your doors necessarily yet. Some of you might not have had, interruptions in the way that other folks might. Some of you might have reopened, but now you're in this kind of post phase. So what we've taken is we've taken our 8 tips, and then we've attached them, or aligned them, I should say, with the pre-reopening, the reopening, and the post. And we did that intentionally to make sure that no matter what phase of the process that you're in, you have some actionable tips to be able to apply no matter your phase. So today, you'll walk away with our actionable tips. You'll also walk away with some pro tips as far as executing these strategies are concerned. We'll talk to you a little bit more, as Donna had mentioned, about some of the resources that are available, some of them obviously complimentary. And then we'll also take you through GemWorks, as Donna had said, our guest engagement marketing portal. And we'll take you through some of the resources on there as well. So some of the things that we talk about today, you'll be able to log into GemWorks and be able to customize, and we'll show you that customizable element. But it's really about getting these tips and putting them into practice. So. All right, so we'll walk through our tips like this. I'll kind of, just describe to you a little bit more each of the tips, and then we'll talk through the way to apply them in each of the different, phases of the reopening process that you might be in. So our first tip is really about confidence, right? About cultivating confidence in your customers' minds. And, the more that we're reading and the more we're seeing in the market, confidence is everything right now. People need to feel and be made to feel that they are safe, when they're entering your business, when they're interacting with you. And if you're familiar, it all goes back to really like a hierarchy of needs, right? If you're familiar with the hierarchy of needs, in which you need to meet those baseline things of safety and security before you can, tackle things that are higher up the chain, if you will. So our first tip is really about how you make your customers feel confident, to return to you, how you communicate that to them. So it's really about keeping their safety top of mind. So in the pre-reopening stage, how does that look? How do you, cultivate that confidence, that safety, that loyalty amongst people? Because inevitably, part of safety is indeed loyalty. When people are made to feel safe and comfortable, they will return. So in the pre-reopening stage, it's really about, looking at your channels, looking at where you communicate with your customers, whether it's through mass texting, whether it's through e-blasts and email communication, whether it's on social media, right? And looking at your channels and where your customers are, and then giving them those positive updates, right? So if you haven't necessarily reopened yet, or, you're still planning in that process. It's about really making them feel safe and comfortable. It's really about sharing with them all that you're doing. And right now, too much sharing almost is being considered a good thing, right? Let them know what your policies and procedures are. Let them know, what to expect when you open your doors, under what conditions, right? And there are, a number of ways that you can do that. But ultimately, it's about sharing those unintrusive, right, but positive updates and sharing with them, you can feel confident when you come back through our doors. In the reopening phase, it's really about, the communication that they're seeing both visually and with you when they walk through the doors, right? So positive signage, everybody has seen, we've all seen, wear a mask, or our maximum occupancy limits, all of those things. But the real key here is about positivity. So some of the templates that we'll share with you are really aligned with these positive, uplifting messages. Because a lot of what we're seeing is that when you're putting out these messages in public areas, a lot of them seem very clinical, right? Or they seem almost just, we've all been in such a strange state right now. But it's important to communicate positively with people, to not make wearing a mask feel, to bring any anxiety, really. And so we'll talk you through some of those tips and, resources that we have available to really make that signage and that communication to them far more positive, because right off the bat, when they start seeing how you're communicating with them, they again will feel that confidence to know that you're being positive about your reopening. So it's not so much stand 6 feet apart, but how do you make that message or craft that message to give them, the positivity that they need to feel comfortable at your establishment. And in the post reopening, our tip for this one is really about sharing kind of safety spotlights, whether it be on social media, whether it be on your website, whether it be, digital signage, if you have LCD screens. Like I said, at this point, confidence is all about sharing all that you're doing. So we actually have some safety spotlight templates that you can use. But really the key here is show what your employees are doing. Show that your employees are wearing their masks. Show that your customers are, interacting safely in your establishment, because from your employees to your customers, everybody will be made to feel more confident when they know that you're being proactive in what you're doing. So our pro tip here, we just let you know here, we have social media templates available, and we'll talk you through the customization, but it's as simple as, including a photo of your people, showing the back, end of everything, showing them a behind the scenes look at what you're doing to stay safe. And it takes a matter of minutes to really just customize it with an image, and a little highlight of what you're doing to stay safe. All right, so our tip number 2 is about staying connected to your employees. And this is super important when we start thinking about the folks who really are on the front lines, right? Who are interacting with your customers. And depending on your organization and, the way that you're structured, you might not necessarily be the one who is making those face-to-face interactions day in and day out with your customers, depending on how your organization's structured. So you want to think about how you can stay connected to your employees all throughout this process. If you haven't reopened, if you're starting to reopen. And so we have some communication tips for you in the way of that, because we can't forget that those folks who are day in and day out, making those interactions with your customers are going to be the ones who are forging those connections. And that's very important when we start thinking about how to really, come back after this and really boost, is to be able to make sure that your employees are well trained and able to communicate, positively to those with whom you want to do business. So staying connected to your employees in the pre-reopening phase, it's so easy to start thinking, you know, we need to get everything squared away for when the customers come back through the doors. But sometimes we often forget that, you know, there is some training and retraining and, you know, communication that needs to happen with your employees before you're doing this, right? You need to make sure that they're informed of everything that's part of the reopening process. So if you haven't already, you know, training and retraining guidelines, this is a completely new now normal, right? So we need to make sure that you're retraining folks if there are things that, you know, you need them to be able to do that they hadn't done before. Staff letters, you know, keeping them in communication with you and making sure that they understand what your new policies and procedures are going to be. And we're seeing a lot more creative ways that people are saving paper right now and are doing things digitally. We're seeing it in restaurants in the ways in which, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we're seeing the kind of digital menus, and we have some solutions for that as well if you are a restaurant. But people are saving paper right now. So if you have, you know, a number of employees, consider the ways in which you can blast out that communication in email form, right? We can help you with staff letter templates. We can help you craft those, you know, appropriate guidelines for your organization. And again, saving that paper and just doing so in a digital format. The next tip for the reopening and keeping your employees engaged and connected is to not forget about the internal signage at the back of the house. And I use back of the house, but really what I'm referring to is if you have a break room or an employee lounge or anywhere where your employees are that, let's say, your customers are not, you know, it's so easy to think about, let's put up signage for, you know, folks to wear a mask or to know what we're doing. But it's important to make sure that that signage is in place and those communication strategies are in place for your employees as well. So whether it's, you know, quick tips for interacting with your customers, whether it's that you have an employee area and you now have new policies for that area, occupancy limits, why they're seeing, you know, different things than, you know, perhaps were implemented before. So don't forget that that internal signage is also very important. And we also have some templates for you to use in the way of this that we can show you on our GemWorks portal as well to make it easy for you to post that internal signage for folks. And in the post reopening, start thinking about the ways in which that you can continuously develop your strategies as people are coming back through the doors, as you're connecting with your customers again, right? And your employees are the ones, as I mentioned, that are on the front lines and actually doing that, you know, and you may be as well, for sure. But you want to start thinking about the ways in which you can connect with your employees and say to them, what are customers asking for? How have their behaviors changed, you know, in this new normal? You know, how are they acting differently than they might have been? And that's a great way for you to be able to adjust and pivot your marketing and your strategies right in the moment. So one of the ways that you can do this is simple surveying. You know, if you have quite a few employees, this can work really well, is just sending out a simple survey. And we can certainly help you, you know, do that as well, to reach out to them and say, what are folks asking for that they weren't before? How are people's behaviors changing? Because it might be that you need to really pivot once you start to see what it is that folks are asking for. So all of these strategies, again, aligned with really keeping your employees engaged, making sure that they're informed and connected. So our third tip here is about a new pricing model, right? New selling strategies. And discretionary spending is completely different. You know, research is suggesting that for quite some time after this, anything discretionary is really going to be tough for some folks to be able to justify. So we need to start thinking about the ways in which that you can adjust your pricing and your selling strategies. And one of the key things to keep in mind here when we talk about implementing this is that individuals might have prolonged stays at home, or, you know, everybody is in a different predicament. So you need to make sure that if it is the case that people are not yet comfortable, you need to have those strategies in place as well, because folks might not be rushing back in your doors, you know, depending on their situation. So your marketing in turn needs to be able to, you know, adjust to all those different comfort levels. So when we talk about the pricing model, here we talk about some different tips for each of the stages. But for here, you know, you think about the ways in which you can bundle, right? So, you know, bakeries, we've seen some of the take and bake or the make at home kits for families. But you want to start thinking about how you can really bundle them with people who are perhaps staying at home with their families for various reasons for a given period of time. Fitness centers as another example. So how can you really bundle that pricing? Maybe it's, you know, you're still offering, or you start to offer virtual sessions or what have you, to be able to just adapt for the ways in which people are living today. So you start thinking about the ways in which you can package and bundle, keeping sensible pricing obviously in mind as you do so. And one of our pro tips here is to just, if you're not already, you know, research what your competitors are doing, your local competitors. See the ways that their pricing might have changed. See how they're, you know, structuring. And don't be afraid to, you know, look at that information and use it to your advantage to be able to really pivot your own strategies as well. In the reopening effort, you know, I spoke a little bit about this, but in a reopening effort with your pricing and what have you, and your bundling, you need to think about the fact that you need to have strategies in place for all the different comfort levels, right? So when businesses start opening their doors, and perhaps you have already, don't forget that there are people who may still be at home, or who might not feel comfortable sitting down in your establishment or walking through your doors or interacting with you. So don't forget that the curbside, and you know, that you know, relates a lot to restaurants, but any kind of quick pickup or grab and go solutions for your customers, you know, don't forget that you really need to still focus on those things. And one of our pro tips here is that, you know, there are some discounted rates out there if you're unaware, for if your mailings have picked up, if you're, you know, doing delivery services, if you know, have an organization, or your organization is, you know, using these types of things. Everything from rental car companies to shipping groups have some really great deals going on right now that you should take advantage of, you know, as you start thinking about, you know, reopening, but still making sure that you have those delivery and quick pickup solutions in place. And in the post reopening, think about, perhaps if you've been closed for some time, do you have anything, if you have these tangible items, do you have anything in your inventory that can be discounted? Do you have any small items, or even free? You know, you think about communicating value or giving a value added piece to people's purchases. So think about those things. If you have those items that can be free or discounted, just to start providing that additional value to individuals. And simple signage really can, after you've reopened, can help in this process too. When you start thinking about when people are touching certain things or what have you, you know, simple signage can really help with this as well. Perhaps if individuals can try on things or touch things, you want to make sure that they're, you know, that they're staying safe in what they're doing as well. But be thinking about those things that you can discount or offer for free, you know, in a safe way. All right, so our next tip is about, using a nice mix of print and digital methods in a grand reopening effort. So it's been interesting to us because we've not necessarily seen as much people taking advantage of a grand reopening, but it's something that's very easily actionable that can be done through both print and digital, methods to really get people excited about the fact that you're coming back stronger for those you serve. So our next tip is really all about a grand reopening effort and the ways in which that you can make that happen. So before, say you're planning a grand reopening effort, before that, it's important to engage individuals on social media, right? So something as simple, if you're using, let's say, Facebook, something as simple as running a contest on social media, right? That you have, let's say, a post about your reopening and you're asking your customers to like and share for a chance to perhaps receive something free, receive something discounted when you reopen it, right? So there are some very easy and actionable ways that you can really start showing people, we're having this grand reopening and there is some value in it for you as well. And it maximizes your exposure when people are liking and sharing a post about your grand reopening as well. And another thing here is direct mail pieces. I mean, direct mail is still very strong. You can blanket a particular geography. We would certainly be able to assist you with that. But direct mail pieces are powerful and very cost effective at, getting in front of the people with whom you want to do business and really showing them that we're offering, a grand reopening package or incentive or event that you should be a part of. In your reopening, don't be afraid to go back to some of those grassroots tactics, right? So in a grand reopening effort, maybe it's that colorful signage, those print solutions, digital signage, if that's outside your business with scrolling messages, yard signs, balloons. Don't be afraid to go back to those grassroots tactics to draw more attention to your business. As I said, it's interesting. I live locally. I live right in West Wyoming and just around the corner from our office, actually. And it's amazing as I'm driving around and getting out there more now that more folks aren't taking advantage of those grand reopening things. And so something to definitely keep in mind as well. And it'll look a little bit different depending on your organization, but we do partner with local printers as well. So if it's something you're looking for, we would be, more than happy to customize a grand reopening package for you, aligned with obviously your brand identity and really getting people excited about coming back through your doors. And post grand reopening, think about, keeping the momentum going, right? Because that's going to be very important. When we talk about marketing, during this time, it might be that you're trying to do so many other things that, marketing, you don't necessarily you haven't necessarily perhaps thought through all of the things that you need to be doing. But right now, it's going to be crucial more than ever to really focus on your marketing. So think about the ways that you really keep that momentum going, right? And keep marketing top of mind. And so when you're keeping that going in a grand reopening effort, think about those folks who have visited you, or those people who have liked or shared your posts, or the people who came to your grand reopening. Start taking down their names if you have, an email list, if you have their phone numbers, if you have any way of, keeping track of who's coming through your doors. And in that effort, start thinking about how you keep that momentum going by perhaps, building a loyalty program now that you've reopened. Punch cards, an easy way to do that, or a digital loyalty program, frequent shopper passes. Start cultivating in their minds that they should feel comfortable and confident coming back, and really focus on those folks who are interested in supporting you as soon as you really reopen your doors again. This next one is a an important tip, and I like this one a lot, is that everything has felt anything but normal right now. I think we can all really agree with that, that in some way or another, something has changed for us, and it really doesn't feel, as it always did. But in all of this, in your communications, your strategies, your marketing, don't forget that human element that's so important, and spreading joy in your communications. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But humans, they crave interaction. They crave authenticity. We crave positivity, and that doesn't go away. So we've all seen those kind of, as I said, clinical messages, or those things that kind of jar us, right? We've seen so much negativity, in the news and what have you. And so it's going to be important for you to find those ways in your marketing tactics and your communications plans to really spread that joy. So in a pre-reopening effort, it's sometimes as simple as just sharing those positive messages, right? Even if they're in your front windows, if they're on social media, there are different ways, but really starting to think about how can I be positive about this, right? People will gravitate towards your positivity. It's something I really firmly believe. So one of the things that we've been seeing, and our pro tip here, is that businesses, both locally and on a national scale, are using inexpensive SMS texting solutions, right? So if you're familiar with SMS, it's really, getting a texting list and blasting out, mass text to people who choose to opt in to your messaging, right? And so I've seen, both on a local and national scale, people taking advantage of them. They're very cost effective, and you can push out those positive messages. And then you can also push out those special deals, those incentives, those things. So if you haven't, start thinking about the ways in which that you can build that texting list for your customers, or those whom just might want to learn more about, what you offer, right? And sharing that positivity, and then using it as an avenue to share more and communicate more about what you offer to them. In a reopening effort, this is something to keep in mind if you don't do this, is that, we as people, as I said, crave that interaction. We crave that positivity and those connections, right? So if you haven't, think about those non-competing businesses, right, that you can partner with to really spread the word about a reopening, to really spread positivity, to show that community coming together aspect that people really desperately need to see right now. So perhaps I'll use a local gym, for example, like our pro tip has here. Say you're a local gym, perhaps there is a health food store in the area, or a natural product store that you can partner with. Start thinking about those logical connections of folks that you can partner with, right, to offer, things at a discounted rate, or just start showing that the two of you are really supporting one another. Because in this reopening effort, that's generating even more business for you. If folks are promoting your business with theirs, it's just maximizing your exposure, right? But it's showing that positivity and that human element, that we're really all in this together, and that our local community is really supporting one another. And in a post-reopening effort, we talked a little bit about employee training, right? But think about, don't forget that these folks are the ones who are communicating with your customers. So how do you go back to the communications, or the role playing, or the training that you established before, and infuse some of that extra positivity in there? Because at this time, it might be that you are getting new customers. It might be that, your returning customers are eager to see you. So it's always important to find those fresh ways to either make a great first impression, or, excite people about coming back. So think about, the fact that your employees play a big role in that positivity for you as well. Our next tip is about self-promotion. So it might sound simple, but when you're, tasked with so many things, you need to think about tactical ways to really do your own self-promotion, right? So we'll talk a little bit about communicating your value, but then also communicating to your customers that you value them as well. So this one is about self-promotion as much as it is really about communicating value, both your own value and the value that you bring to your customers. So in a pre-reopening effort, there's some very simple ways to just show a value-added experience for your customers. So if you don't already, if you don't have digital gift cards on your website and you've been closed for some time, it's not too late to launch those. We have the ability to help you customize digital gift cards, again, with your brand identity, your logo, in a matter of minutes. So we've seen with some growing interest, people reaching out and saying, let us do some digital methods of staying in front of our customers, and maybe you sell those gift cards at $10 less or what have you. But start thinking about the ways in which that you can add that extra bit of value as you're promoting yourself, right? So perhaps it's a flashcard sale with digital gift cards, if that's applicable to your business. Next is about welcome back promotions. So in addition to those discounted rates, think about, online traffic. So if you've been engaging people online, think about those ways that you might have generated some new, leads or some new folks during this time. And maybe now's the time to do those special incentives for them. If they haven't necessarily been a customer before, or they're new and you've engaged them digitally, now is really the time to think about a welcome campaign and what that looks like, or a welcome back promotion with something that you can offer. And again, it's really about communicating your value, right? Because people want that value added experience from, making a transaction with you. And in the post reopening, this tip is not only about communicating your value, but showing your customers that you value them, right? So we have to think about those little things that really mean a lot. So for this one, think about the ways that you can show your customers you value them, right? Is it small thank you cards? Are they, digital or virtual thank you notes or texts that you send to them after they've made a purchase, right? And that really starts creating that support network virtually through word of mouth. When I have made purchases from online retailers and they've sent me in the mail with my purchase a little thank you card, I can say with certainty that I have, engaged in word of mouth marketing. I've told my friends, I've told family members, this individual, took the time to thank me, or this individual took the time to, show me I was a valued customer. And those little things really will make all the difference, right? Because we get so wrapped up in thinking about, these high level things that sometimes you forget those simple thank yous can really go a long way for your marketing tactics. Our next tip number 7, is about taking your business online as much as possible. So we all know that during quarantine, people were online, and they were even more so than they already are. They were finding new ways to absorb content. They were, connecting with people in different ways. I think we all have become professional Zoomers in a way. And I've, engaged in Zoom with, folks like you, to friends, to everyone. So we've all found our ways to connect digitally. But now's the time to start thinking about how you capitalize on that digital experience for your customers. So in the pre-reopening, you start thinking about what we'll call thought leadership, right? So you are a thought leader in your category. Whatever it is that you do, you're a talented person, right? You have people, or you have people on your team who can train, or that can teach, or that can stay in front of your customers, new and returning ones, in some capacity, right? So we start thinking about thought leadership, right? The ways in which you can, from a digital platform, show people that you're really an expert, right? Because then that establishes your credibility and in turn their loyalty. So if you take to YouTube, let's say, or you use the live feature on Facebook or Instagram, you can do something as simple as provide a quick tutorial or a tip or something about, you know, products or services or offerings that you have, to start showing that you're really an expert in that category. You know, the digital platform is perfect for something like this. And I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's a man who's become this YouTube sensation as of late, and he's a father, and he's taken to YouTube during this time to just share some handyman tips and things to do around the house. And I believe his target is really for, you know, younger folks who don't necessarily have parental influence in their lives. But he's taken to YouTube to just show how to do very simple things, right? But things that everybody needs to know how to do. And he's become this handyman dad thought leader in his category. But you want to start thinking about the ways in which that you can do this too on a digital platform. You inevitably have something that you can educate or share with your customers, and YouTube or Facebook or Instagram is a great way to do it. So that's just one way to stay in front of your customers in that digital space. In the reopening phase, we've talked about this a little bit already, but people all have different comfort levels. So you need to make sure that you don't forget about engaging people digitally once they're able to interact face-to-face with you, right? Because it might be the case that people are perhaps comfortable going to your establishment to quickly pick something up, but they don't want to, you know, stay for a prolonged period of time. So it goes back to the packages and the bundles and the take and make, or the how to prepare things. You want to start thinking in your reopening effort how you can encourage, you know, that to still take place, but digitally, right? So maybe it is that they pick up, you know, a kit or a take and make or something from you, but then you guide them digitally on how to apply it or how to use it or what have you, so that you're you know, really aligned with their comfort level. And in a post reopening, going live on social media, again, we talked about this a little bit, and you know, it's certainly not for everyone, but it is something to consider, because you really will find that folks will gravitate towards video. You know, video is hot. I think that's you know, something that's very evident in marketing. So when you go live on social media, you know, it might be promoting your business in a new way. Say you're back. Say you have a welcome back event, or say you have, you know, safe traffic in your business. Don't be afraid to go live, right? To share those instances, to share, hey, we're here, we're back, we're safe, right? But just engaging them digitally, because like we said, everyone's going to feel a little bit different when it comes to coming back into your business. And our last tip, our tip number 8, is about business connections, right? But beyond that, I would say it's really about community. So right now, larger organizations may be willing to work with those smaller local businesses more so than they ever have before. You know, I'll just give a personal anecdote, but my husband and I, during this time, have been so much more willing, and we always support small. It's just something that's very important to us, but we have actively said, let's not get, you know, this takeout, you know, because it's from, let's say, a franchise or what have you. Let's go down to, you know, our friends in Pittston or West Pittston, or, you know, wherever, and let's support local. So there is that element of community, and there's a way that you can really capitalize on that business connection for community. So in a pre-reopening effort, how does this look? If you don't already have a large organization prospect list, now is the time where you can start thinking about building one before you've reopened, let's say. So think about what makes logical sense. What larger organizations in the community will be willing to support you, right? So we'll use, let's say, a hardware store, for example. It might be that there's a summer building project that's taking place, perhaps a restaurant for its first time, or, a group is building an outdoor space, given everything that's happened. They might be more willing now to make purchases from the small and the local, right? So you want to think about the ways in which that you can engage those large organizations in our area to support you. And our pro tip here is, once you've established that prospect list and you know who your real targets are, start engaging with them on social media, right? Start sharing their content, liking their posts, and getting in front of them, right? And it's a very simple and, no fee way of just making that extra effort to build that community connection. In the reopening effort, it's a good idea to start thinking about your connection to the community, right? Shout outs are simple ways that you can really get out there and say, these are the people who are supporting us, right? But also think about the ways that you're giving back, right? Your own philanthropy, and the ways that you're revitalizing the community. Because right now, we created Invigorate really for small businesses in our area to be able to revitalize and, reinvigorate. So it all comes back to that community element of supporting one another. So share those shout outs if folks are supporting you. Share the ways that you're connected to our community, and people will really value that because they want to see, the economic structure of our area really take flight, if you will. And in a post-reopening effort, how does this look? Perhaps it's coming up with different incentives for corporations who are choosing to support small. So once you have established, what bigger organizations in this area can I really tap into and, start aligning myself with and getting in front of, perhaps then you elect a corporation of the week, right? You give them, if you have tangible items, perhaps there's a few free product samples you can give them. Perhaps it's some sort of extra encouragement for them to visit you, right? So there's a lot of ways in which you can get in front of them and start promoting them too. That element of community that's really going to be vital as we all get back into this now, next, new normal. All right, so that takes us through our 8 tips here. What I want to do now, and then we'll obviously have some time for Q&A, as Jolene had mentioned as well. But what I want to do now is just take you through a few things that we have here. So I had spoken about our marketing assets portal. And so I want to bring you through our marketing assets portal and show you what's going to be available to you. As Donna mentioned, we have this portal in place, so all you'll need to do is just reach out for your credentials, and we'll have a place for you to be able to customize some marketing assets that we talked about today. So we have some signage solutions, we have some social media things, and we have some resources available to you that are really differentiated from other folks, because certainly there are places that you can go to get, wear a mask signage or things like that. But the difference is that on this portal, you can customize any of your pieces with your own brand identity, should you wish to do that. So there's a simple place to upload your logo. And then you can also customize them with color, right? So start thinking about the ways in which that you can really, customize these pieces to really reflect who you are. So let me take you through our marketing assets portal. Give it a minute to load, and I'll show you what you'll have access to. Like I said, we just need to reach out. You just need to reach out to us and we can provide you with your credentials to get into our GemWorks portal. And once you're able to be in here, we'll give you access to our COVID-19 customizable assets section. And like I said, you'll have full access to this to be able to customize some signage, some social media solutions, and things of that nature. So I'll just walk you through what you'll actually do. It's very simple. I'll show you a little bit more into the positive and the ways in which that you can start communicating these messages in a more positive light for people as well. So once you get into the portal, you'll be able to click on the signage section here. Once you're in here, you'll see different resources that we've created. And I'll just zoom in so you can see a little bit more. But just some interesting ways that you can really communicate those messages you need to get across, but differently, right? So this one, if you'll see down here, if you hover over it, I can show you a different way to say stand 6 feet apart, right? It's time to set yourself apart, telling your customers that in a creative way. Thank you for staying at a 6 foot distance, you know, not making them, not giving them, you know, that sense of fear, right? But a different way to say that and communicate it more positively. So I'll use this one as an example. Again, wearing a mask. It can be so clinical and it can feel so strange to people. So if this, you know, aligns with your organization, something as simple as, you know, be like Batman, masks required inside, right? A different way of communicating that you need to wear a mask, right? But doing something more lighthearted and positive. People will really gravitate towards that. So I'll use the Batman as an example. If you click on this resource in our portal, you'll be able to come in here and then you'll be able to customize it. So it's very simple to do. Down here, you'll be able to click on a gallery. And as I said, you can choose from a variety of colors. We want to make sure that we align with your, you know, brand identity or perhaps just your favorites. So say I were to click on Batman for the yellow. I can click on that. And now when I update the proof, it'll take just a second for us to update the proof in here. And it'll update with the color that you've chosen. So now you've chosen, let's say, this yellow signage. You can come in here and you can click the upload section if you want to customize it with your logo. You don't have to. If you're looking for a really quick solution and you don't wish to put your logo on it, it's ready for you as it is. All you need to do is click Open PDF. Should you want to customize with your logo, you simply click on Upload. It'll take just a second. You'll click Browse, and you'll go in here, and I'll just select our logo, wherever you have your logo saved on your desktop, and I'll click Upload. It's showing me that I have our logo right in place. I'll click Save. And then you always want to click the update or the refresh button. And it'll take just a minute for you to be able to customize this. So now I have the color that I've chosen. I have my identity here. So this is for us. I click Open PDF. And it pulls me right into another window where I've customized the signage with my logo. And all I need to do is click download or print. And I have that asset available to me. So there are a number of pieces in here already available to you, and you'll get access to those things. And like I said, there's different resources. So some of the things that we've talked about, whether it's, you know, your new hours of operation, whether it's, you know, things to put on your countertopper, whether it's, you know, we kindly ask that you wear a mask, right? Just a different way of communicating that same message to your people. So there's lots of resources available in here. There's also, as I said, from the drop down, there's social media templates that you can go in to share those safety spotlights. There's ones for like and share contests and what have you. So there's lots of resources available to you on our portal. And all of these will be free for you to be able to access. So We have those available. And then you'll get access to this presentation. So we want to make sure that you have everything that we've discussed today. So in here will be a link to download the full Invigorate resource guide. So you'll have all of these tips, but then you'll also have the full guide available to you as well after today's session. And then we have contact information here for Donna, and I'll also provide my contact information for you as well. So if any of the tips, you know, as you're thinking about these things and what you can do, beyond, you know, the customizable pieces that we've shared, we're here, we stand ready to be able to help you with these solutions, to really help you reinvigorate your marketing, and to really just partner with you to, you know, come together and make this something great for your business. So with that, I think that, you know, since you've seen the portal and we've talked through the tips, ready to open it up for Q&A with Donna and me. And, you know, if you have any questions for us, we certainly welcome them. And so I think we're safe to open that up now.
Any questions, comments?
If you have any questions, just make sure you unmute yourself.
It's a quiet group.
And I think, Alyssa, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone thinks of a question later on too, they can also email you or Donna, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, I just want to say thank you to Alyssa and Donna for a very informative presentation. And I do have a few housekeeping notes before we wrap this up today. I will be making available on the eCenter the recording of the session and the PDF of the Invigorate pamphlet for anyone who wants to access it from there. I will also be emailing all attendees a link to the post-event survey so that we can best determine which of our resources will suit your needs and what topics you would all like to see in future training sessions. Also, one last note, we have a new training session in conjunction with the Family Business Alliance focused on returning to a healthy workplace that will take place on Thursday, July 9th at 1 p.m. So I do encourage you to go to our eCenter to sign up for that. With that, I want to thank everyone for attending this session. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact the SBDC, or as I said, contact Alyssa or Donna with any marketing questions. I hope that you all have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.